Now, before we leave today, I think we have to have another one of these heart-to-heart conversations about the dreaded Antifas who are coming to eat your babies, and they're going to come into your suburbs and take your white women and give them to Muslims and, I don't know, fucking throw tofu at you, whatever the hell it is. I've noticed that lately, with the rise in militias, especially over the last year, who are merely responding to years and years and years of, dog whistles from Donald Trump, from Trump supporters, from white nationalists and fascists who, at different times have had hold of the national megaphone courtesy of Trump, whether it's Steve Bannon, Seb Gorka, Stephen Miller. These are all pro-fascist white nationalists. It's not a secret. And because they've had this megaphone now for years and years and years, and they've been beating the drums, people are responding, especially with the lockdown and the economic insecurities. People are getting more and more into this militia thing. What used to be only in the, deep woods and states and areas with low population density is now moving into suburbs in much the same way that MCs did, a few decades ago. Now, the larger issue here that I have a problem with is that as right-wing patriotic militias keep springing up and growing, and more bad shit keeps happening, right-wing media, centrist media apologists, slew of right-leaning politicians who know where their voting base are, they all turn around, they point the finger and go, "It's the Antifas. Look, they did it. It's their fault. It's the Antifas." And there's literally militias running around, and they have 30% of the people in America calling white nationalist right-wing militias Antifas, okay? So, for the last time, for the people in the cheap seats who maybe can't hear so well, or missed this the first 8 fucking times, we're gonna go through this one more time. Uno mas. Okay? Anti-fascists, or antifas, as y'all like to call them, are merely against fascism. Not all antifas are anarchists, but all anarchists are antifas and anti-fascist. Okay? We got that? All the militias, anybody who is in an organization that tells you that they want to return to a more Eurocentric time, or, traditional American values from, our founding forefathers. These are people who are pro-white nationalism. You will find them in militias. You won't find them in the Antifas, because anti-fascists also are not down with racism. Now, unfortunately, what's happened is that after years of Donald Trump calling everything he doesn't like Antifas, and anytime there's more than 3 black people somewhere and something gets broken, it's Black Lives Matter, and they're Marxists, which is just a fucking riff on calling them Bolsheviks, which is what the Nazis used to do. They've really swollen up the ranks of these militias who now see themselves as the foil to Antifa. They are the anti-fascists, because that's a thing. So I wanted to just show you a couple of examples of what an actual right-wing militia looks like, and what a right-wing apologist and a right-wing megaphone looks like, and all the people who feed in to this militia-esque libertarian anti-fascist style. These are the people who are driving that entire train. So first off, this is an article coming out in The Atlantic. They interviewed Stuart Rhodes. Stuart Rhodes is the guy who started the Oath Keepers. Oath Keepers, somewhat similar to the Three Percenters. They are a right-wing militia who tries not to brand themselves as a militia, which is ironic, of course, because if you say an anti-fascist slogan and are wearing at least a black t-shirt, people will immediately call you an Antifa. But if you're a right-wing dude in an all white militia wearing body armor and somebody calls you a militia, it's like, oh, hey, whoa, we're not a militia, we're a social group. Like, okay, yeah. So they were discussing with Rhodes about the proliferation of militias and white nationalism and the growth of this counter-conservative ideology that's come forth since Trump's been loudly blowing the dog whistle for the last 3 years. This is what he said. It's not just about guns, but guns are at the heart of it. Trump was stoking the idea that conservatives are a minority threatened by a demographic tide that will let liberal cities dictate terms for the rest of the country. When I asked Rhodes and other people on the militant right to name concerns beyond gun rights, they mentioned how history is taught in schools, or how the Green New Deal would threaten land use, agriculture, single-family homes. They stress that America is a republic and not a democracy. Liberals, Rhodes told me, want to see, quote, a narrow majority trampling on our rights. The only way to do that is to disarm us first. This right here is the basis of the modern militia mentality. Right here. And this is the hyperdrive conservatism that is pushing the membership in militias and is taking people who were just, conservatives or lifelong Republicans and pushing them towards the militancy. I asked whether the Oath Keepers were white nationalists. The group had participated in events with the Proud Boys, a group of self-described, quote, Western chauvinists, and provided security at so-called free speech rallies, headlined by the alt-right activist Kyle Chapman. Quote, we're not fucking white nationalists, Rhodes said, pointing out that the Oath Keepers have disavowed the Proud Boys and that their vice president is black. That's the new smear. Everybody on the right is a white nationalist. And when you have that drumbeat of demonization, then what are we supposed to think? You're supposed to think that when you say you want to return to the values of the time when we had slavery or the time of Jim Crow, that you're a white nationalist. Like Trump, Rhodes relentlessly demonizes Black Lives Matter activists as, quote, Marxists, a foreign enemy. And he dwells on imagined threats from undocumented immigrants and Muslims that fit his ideas about a globalist push to undermine Western values. His mother is from a family of Mexican migrant laborers. As a child, he spent summers picking fruit and vegetables alongside them, but he told me that his relatives were conservative Christians and that they, the key word, quote, assimilated. That's white nationalism, when you want the brown people to assimilate. Rhodes said I should investigate militant groups on the left, such as the John Brown Gun Club, and seemed obsessed with Antifa, which he said the Oath Keepers had faced down while providing security at right-wing rallies. Quote, if Trump wins, guess who's going to show up, he said. The left will be in the streets rioting. He added that he'd been using liberals, the drumbeat of anti-cop sentiment, in his outreach to police. That's what we tell them. Come on, guys. They hate your guts. There you go. If you have any question as to who the fascist is, see who's hanging out with and associating with and communicating with the cops, aka the police state, aka the armed force of the government. If you are a, quote, libertarian or a patriotic militia and you're hanging out with cops, guess what? You're not for smaller government and you're not for less government suppression because you're helping them. And in Nazi terms, that would make you a brown shirt. So what does it look like when the right-wing media apologists come crawling out of the woodwork and blame everything on Antifa 30 seconds after it happens, just to get it out there in the ethosphere, regardless of what happens afterwards? This is what it looks like. YouTube videos entitled 13 Antifa members arrested for trying to kidnap Governor Gretchen Whitmer to start a civil war. That's right, that's always what it is. Meanwhile, it's our friend Tim Pool. Tim Pool took no time at all. Anarchist group arrested for plotting to kidnap Michigan governor. If you remember, that group was the fuck was it, like the Wounded Wolverines? Yeah, they were a bunch of patriots. They were a bunch of right-wingers. Oh, and if you're thinking, I just took a screenshot and then changed the text on it, this is the actual copy from Tim's actual website. The six men believed that the Democratic Governor Gretchen Whitmer had no checks on her power and was publishing unconstitutional edict. With the use of informants, the FBI was able to arrest and charge the men before anything bad happened. The worst part of it is that Donald Trump and the Republicans are actually winning the legal fight over the unconstitutional COVID restrictions. Trump declared victory in Michigan and Pennsylvania over court rulings in favor of supporters. Notice how Tim, in his description, is trying to move away from actually what happened and moving towards rather discussing Trump's rhetoric on a national scale, as opposed to the fact that a dozen people just tried to purchase explosives from an undercover FBI agent to blow a building up and kidnap a sitting U.S. governor. This shows why the far right is actually not our biggest threat. The FBI is able to easily stop these men. But what about BLM, leftist riots, and Antifa? 133 days of non-stop insanity with limited ability to shut it down. Yeah, Tim, because unlike all the right-wing wackadoodle militia people, they're not out buying explosives and killing people. Crazy, huh? Here you go. Update. It seems that these men are not right-wing at all, but maybe anti-police anarchists. I will do an update once more information is out, and I will do some more vetting. See where Tim says, it seems these men are not right-wing? Yeah, that's Tim covering his ass. That's what he always does. You know. I'm not saying that the Antifas are evil, but out of the 800 people in the country who have ever reported their babies being eaten by human beings in front of them, I've been told that they were all wearing Antifa is my boy t-shirts. So, you know, I guess we would have to assume that all the Antifas are cannibals. I'm not saying that, but it would be a reasonable assumption. Right, Timmy? Right? Yeah, I have to do some more vetting. Yeah, but they meet anti-police anarchists. Hey, let's meet one of the anti-police anarchists who was arrested. This is pro-Kyle Rittenhouse coronavirus denier who was arrested in the plot to kidnap Gretchen Whitmer. The FBI announced that it had arrested 5 men and charged 6 others in a plot to kidnap Governor Whitmer. While details of the plot are scarce, the FBI did release the names of the men behind the effort. According to the FBI, the men used social media to discuss violently overthrowing the government. And the social media for one of them, Brandon Caserta, is filled with right-wing misinformation and violent memes. A Facebook page of his showcases his far-right bona fides. On it, he showers praise on Kenosha, Wisconsin shooter Kyle Rittenhouse, calls coronavirus a hoax, and makes allusions to the QAnon conspiracy. Oh yeah, they're definitely beta-cuck libtard anarchists, yeah. Total Antifa soy boys, right? Brandon Caserta, what would Jesus do? Oh, Jesus would tell Kyle Rittenhouse to kill people. Woo! Brandon Caserta. Damn, girl, are you COVID-19? Because you seem fake as fuck. Bang, bang. Ha ha. Yeah, this guy seems really not on the right wing, not conservative, not a Trump supporter, right? On Wednesday, just before he was arrested, Caserta speculated, quote, is it morally legitimate to initiate violence and theft against nonviolent people? Apparently, I cannot go more than a month or 2 without getting robbed by government thugs for some made-up traffic violation. So if you support police, then you support immoral criminal theft, and I don't give a shit how that makes you feel, because you need to wake the hell up. See this right here? Okay. This is what Tim Pool and the rest of the grifter talking heads on the right want to do. Anybody who comes out as anti-cop must obviously be Antifa. There's a whole wide swath of the right, all those faux libertarians, and then the extremist libertarian militia groups, yeah, they're very anti-cop. They're pro a constitution because they want to ensure that them, as armed white men, still have all the rights. And they want to be able to then dictate their morality to other people. It's why they still believe in a government as opposed to the anarchists. However, anarchists and libertarians, depending on the day, can usually find a common ground against the police. It's just one of those things. In the FBI filing, one of the other men arrested, Adam Fox, reportedly reached out to a militia. The militia was later identified as the Wolverine Watchmen. Ow! Fear the Wolverines. In a TikTok posted Wednesday, Caserta is shown wearing a Hawaiian shirt, which could be a signifier of the Boogaloo Boys, a militia bent on starting a second civil war. Boogaloo Boys are known to wear Hawaiian shirts to showcase support for the movement. The Boogaloo Boys are known to have a presence in Michigan. A YouTube channel advertised on Caserta's Facebook page was no longer available on Thursday. It's unclear when the channel was taken down. However, other videos of Caserta show him armed with a semi-automatic rifle wearing a shirt that says, "Fuck the government." Now, why is it so important that we're talking about this fine fellow right here, Brandon Caserta? Let me show you. It seems Brandon Caserta really loves Tim Pool. Look, these are all Tim Pool posts. Now that it's been revealed that at least one of the Michigan militia members who was arrested for applying to kidnap Governor was a Tim Pool viewer, we have to start asking whether Pool has any sort of culpability given his extreme rhetoric towards the governor. I'm sure Andy know I'll reach out to him any minute now. So I think by now, pretty much your new standard rule of thumb should be anybody Tim Pool calls a member of Antifa is definitely not Antifa. I hope this helped clear that up for you. Support your local anti-fascist.